People inside the crowded roadside diner froze the moment the single dad janitor, Jacob Hale, stepped forward, pointed at the Navy Admiral sitting alone in the corner, and said in a low, shaken voice, "You're coming with me now." No one understood why a quiet, overworked janitor would speak to a decorated admiral like that. Not until the truth unraveled that night, a truth buried for 11 years, a truth the admiral herself never knew, and a truth that would change both their lives forever. Jacob Hale had never planned to stop at the old Route 17 diner that evening. He was tired after working the late shift at the elementary school. His hands smelled faintly of bleach, his shoes were still damp from mopping, and his heart carried its usual heaviness, the kind that never went away, not even in sleep. He was a single father raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, who waited for him every evening with homework questions, drawings, and bedtime stories he tried his best to read without dozing off. The diner was warm and bright, a temporary shelter from the November wind. Jacob stepped inside only because he couldn't shake the migraine pulsing behind his eyes. Coffee, he thought. 5 minutes. Then home. But the moment he walked in, his breath caught. There, sitting alone at the far booth, was Admiral Rebecca Vaughn, one of the highest-ranked officers in the Navy, known for her icy discipline, impossible standards, and a career full of medals. She carried herself with the same iron-straight posture even when she was off duty, her uniform jacket folded beside her, her cap carefully placed on the table. Anyone could tell she didn't belong in a dusty roadside diner. Jacob's heart stuttered. His fingers trembled. His coffee order died in his throat. Because her face, the sharp jaw, the determined brow, the ocean-steady eyes, was the same face he saw in the photograph he'd kept hidden in his wallet for years. The same face he had shown to lawyers, officers, caseworkers, only to be told there was no record of her, that she couldn't be found, that maybe he had mistaken her identity. But Jacob knew what he had seen 11 years ago. He knew the woman in that hospital room, the Navy officer who had made a promise and never returned. He knew the uniform. He knew the voice. And he knew, with a certainty so sharp it hurt, this was Lily's mother. His jaw clenched as memories slammed into him like waves. A young officer begging a nurse to protect her newborn. A stormy night full of alarms, shouting, evacuation orders. Her hands on his, trembling, as she whispered, "If I don't make it back, please, keep her safe." And she never came back. Jacob's lungs felt tight. He had spent years raising Lily alone, believing the woman who brought her into the world was either dead or willingly gone. But now she was here, alive, decorated, respected, eating a simple bowl of soup like she had no idea the life she left behind. He didn't think. He didn't plan. Something bigger than fear moved inside him. Jacob stepped forward, his voice barely above a whisper but strong enough to silence the diner. "You're coming with me." Rebecca looked up slowly, surprise flickering across her face. "Excuse me," she asked, the tone sharp, defensive, authoritative. The diner grew tense, people waiting for a confrontation, unaware that two lives were already colliding, that a secret was seconds away from exploding. Jacob swallowed hard, eyes burning. "You need to see something," he said. "You need to know something. It's about her." He didn't say Lily's name yet. He couldn't. Rebecca rose to her feet, confused but alert, like a soldier sensing danger she couldn't identify. "What are you talking about?" Jacob shook his head, voice cracking. "Just follow me. Please." For a moment, the Admiral hesitated. But something in his eyes, pain, desperation, truth, made her pick up her jacket and follow him into the cold night, beginning a journey neither of them was prepared for. The drive to Jacob's small apartment was silent except for the purring of the old truck's engine. Admiral Vaughn sat straight-backed in the passenger seat, her gloved hands folded tightly. She kept studying him through her peripheral vision, analyzing like she had been trained to do. Jacob looked exhausted, worn by years of struggle, yet there was something else beneath the fatigue, an urgency she couldn't ignore. "Finally," she said, "you understand that what you did back there could be considered intimidation of a senior officer?" Jacob didn't look at her. "Yeah, arrest me later if you want." That response stunned her. No fear, no apology. just a man who had run out of options. When they reached his apartment, Jacob unlocked the door quietly. Inside was a humble space, faded curtains, secondhand furniture, children's drawings taped to the walls. The smell of warm lavender from a cheap diffuser filled the air. Rebecca's eyes softened as she stepped in. It was not the home of a dangerous man. It was the home of a struggling father. And then she saw the little girl asleep on the couch, curled against a blanket decorated with tiny stars. A small, delicate child with soft brown hair, a button nose, and eyes that mirrored the Admiral's own. Rebecca froze. Her breath caught in her chest. Jacob knelt beside the sleeping girl, gently brushing her hair back. "This is Lily," he whispered. "She's your daughter." Rebecca staggered back, hand covering her mouth. "That's not possible," she whispered, though her trembling voice betrayed her fear. Jacob took out his wallet, pulling out the worn photograph, an image taken 11 years ago in a flickering hospital hallway. It captured a younger Rebecca in uniform, tear-streaked face, holding a newborn wrapped in a thin blanket. Rebecca's legs weakened as she stared at the picture, memories flooding in. The emergency mission, the explosion on the ship, the rushed evacuation, the evacuation orders that tore her away before she could sign the release forms. The weeks she spent critically injured, drifting in and out of consciousness. And afterward, the military had told her the infant hadn't survived. Her heart shattered. She had lived years believing she had lost her baby before ever knowing her. Rebecca's voice cracked. "They told me she died." Jacob clenched his fists, jaw trembling with old anger. "They lied. I was there when you begged the nurse to keep her safe. I took her home. I raised her. I tried to find you." Rebecca slowly sank onto the couch, staring at the sleeping girl as tears streamed silently down her face. "My God, she looks like you," Jacob whispered. The truth was too heavy to speak, yet it hung in the room like electricity. Rebecca had spent 11 years serving her country, unaware her daughter was alive. Jacob had spent 11 years struggling alone, believing the woman he loved had chosen to disappear. Two lives separated by lies. Two hearts unknowingly connected by the same child. Rebecca reached out with a trembling hand, afraid to touch the girl she never knew she had the right to touch. Does she know about me?" Jacob shook his head slowly. "No. I told her her mother was a hero. But I didn't tell her you were alive." Rebecca closed her eyes, overwhelmed by a guilt so deep it felt like suffocation. "I didn't abandon her," she whispered. "I swear I didn't." Jacob's voice softened. "I know." And for the first time, Admiral Rebecca Vaughn, decorated, fearless, unbreakable, sobbed into her hands like a mother finally coming home after a war that lasted over a decade. In that quiet room, with their daughter sleeping between them, two broken hearts began to mend. And the truth of what really happened 11 years ago waited in the shadows, ready to reveal the final, life-changing answer neither of them expected.